Today, we're going to talk about whether you should lock up a deal over the phone or try to do it in person. Man, I'm excited for today's show. But before we jump into today's question that was sent in by a listener, if you have not been to our website, check out nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. And there I actually have a gift for you. It's the exact script that we use to lock up deals in our company day in and day out. As a matter of fact, this script is responsible for locking up over 1,300 deals in our company and tens of thousands of deals from the best investors across the country. So if you've ever wondered what to say to a motivated seller and you're trying to lock up that deal, or if you're trying to train your acquisition specialist and get them off on the right foot and give them a step-by-step script to use to separate the motivated sellers from the non-motivated, go ahead to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script and download that today. So that being said, let's jump into today's question.
Hey, Todd, this is Daniel. My question is, I heard you mention that you either lock up properties over the phone or you go on appointments. What sort of training do you give your acquisitions people to determine, or what sort of verbiage do they need to hear to say, you know what, I'm going to go on an appointment instead of me pressuring the seller into some sort of deal over the phone?
Oof, that's a great question. I tell you what, this is a little bit of an art and not a science. But what I'm hearing, right, is you're wondering, hey, how do I know when to go out to meet a seller, right? And so I may not be 100% on target here, but it seems like sometimes you're like, I'm not sure. I'm on the phone. The seller sounds motivated, right? But do I go out there and waste the time or invest the time to go face to face and risk not getting the deal? Or do I try to lock it up over the phone right now? Man, that is a good one. Well, I think first thing I would mention is if you are virtual and you've decided to be virtual and you've committed to that business model, well, of course, the answer is easy, right? You lock up deals over the phone. I have many clients, one-to-one clients who lock up deals over the phone, and we do it all the time, but we also have markets in which we meet face to face. So if you are in a virtual market and you don't have boots on ground, I would, and by the way, you should always have boots on ground in some form. I'm going to give you a little tip here at the end of the episode on how to do that pretty much for pennies, okay, for pennies. But you should always have boots on ground. So the one thing I would say is if you are in person, you should get face to face as often as possible, right? If that is your model. You do not want to hesitate and try to lock up the deal over the phone unless you're willing to lose $20 or $30 or $40,000 of profit that are going to go right into your bottom line. When you're looking face to face with somebody, you can see facial expressions. You could see them squirm. You could see them move. They're also right in front of you, right? And so you can get that deal done. If you email a contract or you DocuSign it, it can sit in their inbox and, other things can happen and they're not going to have that focus. But a lot of things that something big that people don't talk about is, if you've got a problem and you give 100% focus to that problem over a period of 2 hours, I don't know about you, but I usually destroy that problem in about 2 hours. If I give it scattered attention, it usually kind of goes on for months, right? For months. And so when you go out face to face with a seller, it's usually a 2-hour window where they are 100% focused on solving that problem in that moment, and you could probably get that done, right? And so that's why I love the in-seller appointment, because you have their attention, right? You have their attention and they have yours. And so there's this dialogue face-to-face, back and forth, and the chance of you getting that contract is through the roof. Now, you may ask me, what is and I'm going to get into how to lock this up virtually here in a second. But it's very, very important that, again, you don't get lazy here, right? If you smell motivation on a seller, there's any kind of motivation, I'm going to recommend that you go out there and try to lock this up. Now, of course, it depends on how many leads you have and what your team looks like and your priorities, and I get that. But if your model is face-to-face and you smell motivation, I'm probably going to get out there. Unless, for whatever reason, the seller says, look, I'm really motivated, but I'm not selling for 6 months, right? And they tell you a definitive timeline on when they are not selling. then I'm not going to go out there. But if I can't get them to commit to a timeline that they're not going to do the deal, I'm going to recommend that you go out there, right? So you want to have a low barrier of going out on appointments. Any kind of motivation, I'm going to recommend that you go out there. Any kind of difference in the retail price and the price that they are willing to accept, if there's like a $30,000 gap, but they haven't told me about motivation, but it's not quite enough for me to do a deal, I'm still going to recommend that you go out there because there's probably some kind of motivation that they're not telling you about, right? Face-to-face by far is your best option. Now, let's talk about if you're virtual and you can't get out there, because a lot of our listeners love doing virtual deals. And heck, I love doing virtual deals, right? In addition to face-to-face, right? It doesn't have to be this or that. It could be this and that, especially when you're working on big, juicy deals, right? The only one thing I won't tolerate is this or that, or is you've got to do big deals over small deals, right? If you listen to this podcast. So how can you increase your conversion rate over the phone? Number one, think about this. As soon as you get off the phone, they're thinking, is this a scam artist? Is this person real? Are they really going to buy the property? How do I know? Every fear goes through their head. So the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to Google you or go to your website. So you want to have a great website. Have a great website with your company name on there and logo and pictures and about us and all this great stuff. And if you've got a family, put your family on there. If you're single, that's great. Put a picture of you and your mom on there, right? But you want to be seen as a safe family person, right? And when I'm by single, I mean, you can, again, put a picture of your parents or siblings or whatever that is to show that it's just not you. Also, you want to have lots of testimonial videos from previous sellers, right? You want to have them on there, at least 3 or 4. By the way, I did another podcast on how to get killer testimonials, so you can search on them, but get those on there. Don't be lazy. Also put that in the signature of your email. So have your website, but also we say, hey, listen to our testimonials, and we've got a link just for that. I also have a credibility letter that I put in the bottom of our email that they can click and read that. And it tells us all about our company, and they can read up on you. You also want to drop in that you use a local title company, right? And hopefully that company has a lot of reviews. And I mentioned that in our credibility letter. Now, this could be during the process because they're reading this stuff as you go, wondering if you're real. Now, this step, just as important as the other, is you want to keep a lot of micro commitments, right? What are micro commitments? Well, micro commitment is if you make an appointment at 10 o'clock tomorrow, be there right at 10. Don't call at 10:01. Don't come at 9:59, right? It's just one thing where all of a sudden, if you call right on the dot, it's like, wow, this person is going to keep that promise exact, right? So do that. If you tell them that you're going to get back to them with a piece of information, keep that promise, especially older people, right? It's like, it seems like to them, they view the younger generation as so flaky. If you show them that you are a person of your word, right, man, you are going to be miles ahead over the competition. Of course, build rapport. You want to flush out any objections over the phone, right? You want to stay on there until you flush out everything. I talk a lot about this in the no limit selling system. I use something called a stealth mismatch. So I'll say, Mr. Seller, let me ask you, it sounds like, and I could be wrong, and I don't know. It sounds like, you're holding something back, right? Even if they're not, I always like to say, it sounds like you're holding something back and you're not sharing something with me. And I love to use that, right? Because then they'll say, no, I'm good. Or it's going to flush out the objection. So that line, I always like to say, Mr. Seller, I sense a little uneasiness in your voice, right? Is there something that I need to know? And I love to do that at the end because I'd rather them say that to me than all of a sudden me send the contract over and it not work out, right? So don't be scared of the answer because a real objection might come out, but at least now you could object. At least now you can handle it instead of, the seller thinking about it and just not calling you back or ghosting you. Okay. Now here's a ninja trick that I talk about that a lot of people get really lazy on is if you send a contract, use a notary. It's going to cost you $75, $100 to get a notary out there. They print the contract and they bring it out there. So now you don't have to worry about technology issues. I don't know about you, but I don't like using technology over on these deals. Yes, it's easier for you. It's easier for you. Oh, I just want to send a DocuSign, right? But a seller who's opening that, it's harder to read the contract that way. They don't know if it's real. They're not used to signing the agreements. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. If a seller says, send this to me electronically, yes, I will do that, right? But you want to have a notary go over there. Notary prints it, goes over there. They're face-to-face with that seller. They have the seller's full focus. They know that you've paid on it. Notary gets a signature. Your signature's on there. They scan it back to you. You send it to the title company, and you are in contract, baby. And so that's why I just love notaries. And that was the little ninja trick that I was talking about, is they don't have to put them on salary. You don't have to pay them on hourly. You just pay them on a per contract basis. Very, very important to have a good notary on your team. If you want to know where to find them, go to 123notary.com, 123notary.com, and put in your zip code, and they'll give you notary for the area. And they're not an affiliate of ours, but they are awesome. So I'm going to review here. Number one is if you smell motivation and you go out there or you sense some kind of difference in price below retail, get out there. Don't be lazy. Get the contract. Go face-to-face, because sometimes if you get cute, you're going to lose a deal. And I don't know about you, but I don't like losing out on $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 houses. If you are virtual, fine. That's your model. You're committed to it. But remember, have a great site. Have lots of testimonial videos. Walk the seller through the process. Use lots of micro commitments. Keep little promises to the seller and build rapport. Get objections out over the phone, right? Don't be scared of the answer so that you can address them. Avoid technology like DocuSign. Yes, it can work, but I prefer to use Notary, 123notary.com. And I'm telling you what, this stuff right here is little tweaks, but it's going to make you so much more money. I promise you. All right. So head on over to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script to download the exact script we use. And that works either virtual or in person. And I will talk to you on the next episode.